I got the chance to interview Gege Akutami, what would I ask him? Let's talk about it. All right, first of all, shout out to Brandwin and Black Enigma for asking me this today. This is a really fun question that I sat down and I was like, okay, if realistically I got this opportunity, what would I ask Gege? And I quickly came to like two separate categories of questions. The first, I'll call them like general questions. Questions not about JJK, but more about Akutami himself. Because I would have a ton of questions for him in this regard, just about his writing process, about his storytelling process in general, just like a bunch of meta questions, if you will. But I know that that's not really probably what you guys are here for. You're more interested in what JJK story questions I would ask him. So let's go over the first ones that came to mind. All right, so first and foremost, I would love to pick Gege's brain on Kenjaku. I have a bunch of different questions floating around related to this. And in no particular order, I would love to know about the true nature of Kenjaku and Tengen's relationship. Were they actually friends back in the day? Or what was that dynamic really like? I would also like to know just how old Kenjaku and Tengen actually are, because they have the potential to be far more ancient than even the Heian era, right? Additionally, I would love to know about any kind of history between Wasuke and Kenjaku, given the weird kind of dynamic when Wasuke was trying to warn Jin. Like, had Kenjaku interacted with Wasuke in a previous body? Perhaps could he even be, or she, the mother of Jin as well as Yuji, which is something we've talked about before. But then most interestingly, I would love to pick Gege's brain on the nature of Kenjaku's feelings toward Yuji, primarily because of this scene here where we know Kenjaku went out of his way to save Yuji's friends and even thanked her for being Yuji's friend. So I think there's some complicated feelings there that I would love to know his perspective on. Next, I would have like 500,000 questions about the world building. I would just love to pick his brain on how he conceptualizes the origins of a lot of things in JJK. For example, like, what was the connection of fate between the Six Eyes, Tengen, and the Star Plasma Vessel? Like, was that actually the result of a higher force like fate, or was it the result of some sort of ancient binding vow that was made? Like, are the Six Eyes just some random genetic property that popped up within this clan, or do they exist for a reason? And kind of on that same note, like, curse techniques in general, is that just like a baked-in facet of the world building, a part of the natural process on this world as it evolved, or is it the result of some sort of ancient binding vow with spirits in the past or whatever? And then speaking of binding vows, I would of course have to ask Gege about what the consequences were for breaking one with someone else. Something that we were heavily warned about in the series, but we never got an upfront example of. So I would love to know if he had any ideas of certain consequences and if he toyed with that in the story, but it was ultimately left on the cutting room floor. Then next, I would love to just get Gege's kind of reaction or thoughts on some of my favorite headcanon theories that I have, starting with, is Tengen Sukuna's mother? Then I'd also love to know what he thinks about the idea of heavenly restricted users being able to help Ten Shadows users in subjugation rituals. And then I would love to just pick his brain about a bunch of the Sukuna stuff we've long talked about on this channel. Primarily the whole twin situation and, you know, whether or not Sukuna actually does represent like the other side of that coin, the same way Maki got that insane boost when Mai died. Is that what happened with Sukuna and his twin? And does that speak to why he is so strong, at least partly? Honestly, I would probably have about 500 other questions as well, and I would want to poll you guys and see what you most wanted me to ask Gege. So I would love to hear y'all's thoughts on this. If you got to ask him a question, what would it be?